Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda. My sister-in-law, Kathleen, has been a tremendous support in my life, and it was she who encouraged me to share my story with you today. Kathleen and I have always been close, especially since we worked together before I met my wonderful husband, Larry, through her. I'm deeply grateful to Kathleen for playing Cupid because Larry and I have built a beautiful life together. However, while Kathleen and Larry are incredible individuals, my relationship with Larry's mother, Grace, has been quite the opposite. From the moment we met, Grace made her disdain for me clear, creating a strain in our relationship that even Larry struggled to ease. Despite his efforts, Grace's hostility never faded. Things escalated at our wedding when Grace wrongly accused me of ruining her dress, an incident that caused friction between Larry and me. Grace, being a single mother, had always clung tightly to Larry, making it difficult for him to create distance from her negativity. The situation reached a breaking point on our first anniversary. Kathleen, ever the protective sister-in-law, discreetly warned me about Grace's plan to publicly humiliate me. She intended to accuse me of stealing a precious family heirloom, a necklace. Despite my attempts to resolve things, Grace was set on causing harm, adding another layer of tension to our already fragile relationship. As our anniversary approached, I felt torn. I wanted to celebrate peacefully, but Larry insisted on including his mother. Grace's potential interference loomed over the celebration, threatening to overshadow what should have been a joyful milestone. I longed for a day filled with love and laughter, but Grace's scheming weighed heavily on my heart. Although Kathleen had confided in me, I hesitated to tell Larry. I believed he needed to see his mother's actions for himself. On the day of the anniversary, I stayed vigilant, watching Grace closely. Thankfully, the day passed without major incidents, but Grace eventually cornered me when I was refilling my drink. She accused me of trying to take Larry away from her. Her words were bizarre and seemed completely unrelated to our celebration. She claimed I was the reason Larry was distancing himself from her, her tone dripping with ominous threats of what she had in store for me. Kathleen, sensing the brewing storm, remained by my side, ready for whatever Grace might do. Not long after, Grace excused herself, saying she was going to put on her jewelry. When she returned, she acted distressed, claiming her necklace and earrings were missing. Kathleen and I exchanged knowing glances, realizing Grace was trying to execute her plan to frame me. Despite her convincing performance, we stayed calm, watching as she attempted to turn the guests against me. Amidst the questioning, Grace paused dramatically, insinuating that I had stolen her jewelry. I was the thief. What are you talking about, Mom? Larry interjected, clearly perplexed. You probably just misplaced them. It's not like we have strangers here. How could they have been stolen? But Grace pressed on. No, Larry, this isn't a case of misplaced jewelry. No one broke in. It has to be your wife. She's always admired my jewelry a little too keenly. The room fell silent, shock visible on everyone's faces as Grace pointed accusingly at me. Larry looked embarrassed by his mother's outburst, but his faith in me did not waver. Mom, that's unfair, he countered firmly. You're casting baseless accusations at Brenda. She would never do something like that. You must have misplaced it. Grace persisted, trying to convince Larry of her suspicions, recalling every moment I had complimented her jewelry. But throughout the ordeal, Larry's trust in me remained strong, a testament to the bond we shared. I stood there, stunned by Grace's accusations, especially on a day meant to celebrate our anniversary. Grace, I would never take your jewelry. I defended myself, shocked she could think I'd steal from her. When I complimented your necklace, it was just that, a compliment. It doesn't mean I wanted it for myself. Grace snapped back sharply. Larry, you're blind with love. Can't you see how manipulative your wife is? She's so greedy that she didn't even ask. She just took my jewelry because she wanted it for herself. This sparked a heated argument between Larry and Grace, much to the dismay of our guests, who watched in disbelief as the drama unfolded. It was humiliating to be accused of theft during what should have been a joyful celebration. Staying composed, I turned to Grace and spoke firmly. You have no right to accuse me of something so outrageous in my own home. To claim I would stoop to theft is beyond insulting. I respect myself far too much to engage in what you're describing. Grace, undeterred, fired back. Don't play the innocent, Brenda. I saw you last night, sneaking into my room. You came out acting suspiciously. And now it all makes perfect sense, Grace insisted, utterly convinced of her own narrative. Grace, you're making wild accusations without a shred of evidence. I countered firmly. You have no proof, and it's wrong to tarnish my reputation based on nothing. Who knows what you've done with your jewelry? You can't just blame me. If you think I'm lying, then let's check your room. I'm certain we'll find my jewelry there, Grace proposed, her voice filled with conviction. We have witnesses here. Let's see for ourselves. Larry, it's inappropriate and disrespectful to invade our privacy based on mere suspicions, I protested. We can't allow your mother to keep pushing this. If we give in now, everyone will doubt my integrity forever. The tension was thick, and it was clear something needed to be done to resolve the situation without compromising our dignity. As difficult as it was, I knew we had to clear the air and prove my innocence without escalating the conflict. Larry stood in the middle, torn between his loyalty to his mother and his trust in me. He understood Grace's frustration but also knew how serious her accusations were. With no proof to back her claims, it was a dangerous line to cross. Realizing I needed to clear my name, Larry reluctantly agreed to his mother's demand. As the group, led by Grace, marched toward our bedroom, the tension only grew. Grace, certain of her accusations, made a beeline for my closet. She rummaged through it and then triumphantly held up her jewelry box. Look, Larry, I found my jewelry in your wife's closet. See? She did steal my things. She's greedy and jealous. No, this can't be, Larry said, clearly conflicted but still supportive. I know my wife. She wouldn't steal from you. I don't understand how your jewelry ended up there. Brenda, you didn't take this, right? Of course not, Larry. You know I'm not a thief, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the chaos. Oh, really, Brenda? Grace sneered. Then explain how my other jewelry set ended up in your closet too. You can't wiggle your way out of this one. You should have just confessed and returned my things. Her anger was palpable as she leveled the accusation. I'm sorry, Larry, but this is too much. I need to call the police, Grace declared, pulling out her phone and beginning to dial. Her actions sent waves of shock and whispers through the guests as the situation spiraled out of control. I remained composed, despite the crushing humiliation and the harsh whispers rippling through the room as we waited for the police. Grace continued her tirade, labeling me a gold digger and turning to Larry. This proves it, Larry. I told you Brenda was no good. You need to see the truth and divorce her. No one wants a thief in the family. The situation felt like a nightmare as I stood there, holding on to my dignity amid the false accusations. I knew this moment would test everything Larry and I had built together. As the reality of the police arriving loomed closer, Grace remained unwavering in her belief that I would soon be arrested. Larry, however, expressed doubt. Mom, I don't think calling the police was the right move. You might not like how this unfolds. What do you mean, Kathleen? Grace snapped, her confidence unshaken. I couldn't just stand by and let Brenda get away with this. People who commit crimes need to be held accountable without mercy, or they'll keep doing it. I think Kathleen is right, Mom, Larry interjected, trying to defuse the situation. Calling the police could backfire on you, but now that it's done, there's no turning back. How could this possibly turn out worse for me when Brenda is the one who committed the crime? Grace retorted, eager to see her version of justice unfold. At that moment, despite the gravity of the situation, I couldn't help but laugh. Kathleen smirked and shook her head, knowing something Grace didn't. The room grew tense as everyone stared at me, confused, wondering why I would be laughing while supposedly about to be arrested. Once I regained my composure, I turned to Grace. You know, Grace, it's fascinating how meticulously you plotted to frame me as a thief. What do you mean? You were the thief. You stole my jewelry. Grace shot back, her face flushed with indignation. Oh, come on, Mom. Have some decency, Larry said, his frustration evident. We all know Brenda didn't steal your jewelry. This has been a setup from the beginning. Kathleen's sudden declaration shocked everyone, including Grace, who for the first time appeared nervous. What are you talking about, Kathleen? I haven't done anything. If anyone's a thief, it's Brenda. Quit the act, Grace, Kathleen said firmly. You thought you could frame her, but I found out. I warned Brenda you'd try to pull something like this. Your scheme to trap her, it's over. I confronted her directly, and the entire atmosphere shifted as the truth began to unravel. Grace's plot wasn't just an attack on me. It was an assault on the trust and harmony of our family. Even before the party began, I'd sensed something was off, but her accusations during the heated exchange shocked everyone. How dare you suggest that? You're manipulating my child, making her say things without any proof, Grace fumed, her voice rising. Larry stood by me. Mom, we didn't have proof before, but now we do. The urgency to clear my name surged within me. Grace, flustered, demanded, "What are you talking about, Brenda? What proof could you possibly have?" Her panic became obvious as I calmly mentioned our home security system. "Did you forget our house is equipped with cameras?" I asked, watching as the color drained from her face. Grace's confidence began to crumble. Perhaps she assumed the cameras were only outside, unaware that her actions inside the house could also be recorded. Larry, catching on, added, "That's right, I almost forgot about the cameras too. We've got them in the hallways, clear views of every room from the outside. We can check the footage and see the truth." "Why do we need to check the cameras?" Grace's voice wavered, tinged with desperation. "I'm your mother, Larry. I'm telling you Brenda stole from me. We shouldn't need to prove anything else." "No, Mom," Larry responded firmly. "I thought you wanted to get to the bottom of this. I don't believe for a second that Brenda is a thief. If you're so sure, we should look at the footage together. I need to see for myself if what you're claiming is true. Otherwise, I can't believe it." Despite Grace's best efforts to stop us, I pulled up the footage on my phone. The room tense as everyone prepared to watch the events unfold, the truth about to be revealed. As the tension mounted, the police arrived. Briefed by the crowd, they quickly assessed the situation. Grace wasted no time approaching them, pointing directly at me. "Officers, you need to arrest my daughter-in-law, Brenda. She's a criminal. She stole my jewelry. We found it in her closet. Arrest her now." But I was ready. "I don't think so, Grace," I said, steeling myself for what was to come. I turned to the officers, interjecting firmly, "I have proof that my mother-in-law set me up and is making false claims against me." One officer asked, "Do you have solid evidence against her?" "Yes, I do," I replied confidently. "My home is equipped with security cameras, and here is the footage from yesterday." I handed my phone to the officers, and they began reviewing the video. Larry and the others watched closely as well. The footage clearly showed Grace taking her jewelry box from her room and entering mine while I was out. Moments later, she reappeared without the box, confirming she had deliberately planted it in my closet to frame me. The revelation stunned everyone, especially Larry, whose expression shifted to one of anger and disbelief. "Mom, how could you do this?" he demanded, his voice thick with frustration. "Brenda has been nothing but kind to you, and you stabbed her in the back like this. What is wrong with you?" Grace, now panicked and tearful under her son's piercing gaze, attempted to explain. "Larry, please let me explain." "No, just no," Larry cut her off sharply. "I don't want to hear it, Mom. I'm done. I'm so done with how you tried to destroy my wife's life and reputation on our anniversary. I will never forgive you for that. I can't believe how low you stooped. I'm ashamed to have a mother like you, and I don't think I want any contact with you from now on." Larry's words hit Grace like a sledgehammer. Kathleen, who had warned about this possibility, nodded in agreement, her concerns now fully validated. The police, having reviewed the footage, realized the accusations against me were unfounded, confirming my innocence. One officer turned to me. "Ma'am, you have the right to file a formal complaint against your mother-in-law for making these false accusations." "Yes, I'm aware. Thank you," I replied, feeling the weight of the situation settle over me. "Would you like to proceed with pressing charges?" "It seems reasonable under the circumstances," the officer suggested. "We can take her into custody and clear this up." "Yes, I'd like to press charges," I confirmed. I glanced at Larry. "I'm sorry for the drama this has caused everyone tonight. Larry, are you okay with this?" "Brenda, what Mom did was wrong. You have my full support," Larry affirmed, his voice steady. As the officers approached Grace to place her in handcuffs, she resisted, her emotional state unraveling as she pleaded with Larry, Kathleen, and even me for forgiveness. "Brenda, please don't do this. I'm your mother-in-law. What will people think if they see me getting arrested?" Her desperate pleas fell on deaf ears. I remembered how eager she had been earlier to see me in the same position. "You didn't care about public opinion when you called the police on me," I said, my voice calm and resolute. "Why should I care now? I'm justified in having you arrested after what you've done," I said firmly. The police warned Grace about resisting arrest, but her desperation had taken over. Her cries filled the room as the reality of her actions finally caught up to her. The family stood by, a mix of relief and sadness in their eyes, knowing this was a necessary step toward restoring peace and trust. "I'm sorry, Brenda. I shouldn't have done this. Look, we're family. We can solve this ourselves." "There's no need to involve the police," Grace pleaded, her voice trembling with desperation. Her earlier words echoed in my mind, stark against her current plea for leniency. Grace, you once said that criminals shouldn't be spared because they might become worse. Now, seeing how you could easily become a menace to society, I feel it's my duty as a concerned citizen to ensure you face the consequences of your actions, I replied, mirroring her own logic back to her. Grace looked utterly shocked as I repeated her statement. She continued to sob and mumble apologies, but her words did little to sway anyone in the room. The guests murmured their disapproval, and the police officially moved to take her into custody. Larry and I accompanied the officers to the station to file a formal report, while Kathleen stayed behind to manage the aftermath of the evening's drama. As we reached the station, preparing to document everything officially, I paused, wanting to make sure Larry was still comfortable with the decision. Larry, are you sure you're okay with this? If you're uncomfortable with filing the report, we can reconsider, I offered, giving him a chance to back out. No, Brenda, we're not turning back on this. We need to file the report, Larry said firmly. I failed to protect you from my mother's actions. She was about to ruin your life, and I can't overlook that. You know I never doubted you for a second, right? I know, Larry. It's not your fault. Your mom's choices are her own, I reassured him, understating the emotional turmoil he was going through. Larry's love for his mother made the reality of her actions even more painful. Despite this, he stood by me, acknowledging that this step was necessary to protect our future and ensure that such behavior wouldn't happen again. As I finalized the report, Larry made a firm decision to keep Grace out of our lives permanently. To help heal the strain this had placed on our relationship, we had agreed to start couples counseling, strengthening our bond and learning to navigate our marriage dynamics with greater understanding. Despite the turmoil, Larry and I returned to our anniversary celebration. The food was ready, our friends and family were still gathered, and there was a renewed sense of support. We saw no reason to let one person's actions ruin our day. It was, after all, our anniversary, and we decided to continue the festivities, enjoying ourselves with those who truly cared. Even Kathleen had a wonderful time, sharing in the joy and laughter that filled the room. Meanwhile, Grace, my mother-in-law, faced the consequences of her actions in jail. Ultimately, she chose not to let the case go to trial and agreed to a settlement through my lawyer, which provided me with a substantial sum in compensation. Though she avoided a court case, I hope this experience would prompt her to reflect on her behavior. Since then, Larry, Kathleen, and I, along with several other family members, have cut ties with Grace completely. Some family members were hesitant to block her immediately, likely out of fear she could stir up more discord. However, distancing ourselves from her has brought peace. Larry and I have seen significant improvements in our marriage. The counseling has helped us rebuild with greater teamwork and understanding, and we are now looking forward to our next chapter together. We're expecting our first child. We've decided to keep our new family safe, ensuring Grace will have no involvement in our child's life. This decision has brought a new sense of stability and peace as we prepare for the future as a family.